That the way you did that was kind of, he appreciated what he did, but at the same time, it wasn't what the Prophet ﷺ was looking for. So the Prophet ﷺ is sort of teaching us a principle that if you receive income through doubtful means, it's better to give it away in sadaqah. And that's why, as an employee, especially in a day and age where almost every single form of trade involves some haram, some form of haram. There are very clear, explicit haram professions, but then there are the professions where somehow you're connected to some sort of haram transaction, some sort of impermissible transaction. Something's touched by riba, by interest, some sort of company that has some haram dealings, whatever it is, you're going to be affected by that. And so the scholars will say what? That you should give as much of your income into charity, especially when you have a job that involves some doubtful dealings. It's okay for you to work in there if that's not the majority of your work, but at the same time increasing your sadaqah. So I said this is one of the hadith where we take that principle that if you work in a job, in a profession, where you're getting some income and it's doubtful, it's better to give it away in sadaqah. It's better to give it away in charity. Well, how do we reconcile that with the earlier hadith from Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that there is no sadaqah from ghulul. There's no charity from money that's been taken wrongfully. Anyone know? Do you guys see a contradiction? You guys ever heard the question of, well, can I give haram money in charity? What's the answer to that question? No? You can, but you won't get a reward. Okay. There are two types of haram money. There's haram money that is seized, stolen, taken unlawfully, and then there's haram money that is haram in the nature of the transaction. So you earned it through selling something impermissible or through dealing with some product that's impermissible, or whatever it may be. The first type of money, that which is taken unlawfully and seized, you can't give that in sadaqah. You can't give that in charity. You need to find a way to try to return it to its rightful owner. The second form is given in sadaqah, and that's a means of purifying yourself from the wealth that was earned in a haram way, or something that was earned, and had some sort of dealing with that which was impermissible. So it's a means of purification, but you may or may not be rewarded for it. But that's a way of purifying yourself of it. Okay, so the answer is yes, you can give that money in sadaqah as long as it's not money that's stolen or seized, taken through ghulul, what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned here. Then it becomes something different. And Imam Shawkani, rahimahullah ta'ala, he also said that the Prophet ﷺ, it could have been that the Prophet ﷺ, there's a hadith, by the way, that the animal the Prophet ﷺ was talking about was the udhiyah. Okay, was the udhiyah. So he wasn't permitted, Urwa was not permitted to sell the udhiyah. So he made a mistake. So the Prophet ﷺ was doing expiation for the mistake of Urwa. Another possibility, he said that the Prophet ﷺ may have given it up as a means of charity because he already was giving this money as a form of qurb, coming close to Allah. They call it qurbani, right? It brings you nearer to Allah. Qurb is to bring you nearer to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ already intended that dinar was to be given as a means of nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just because it came back with the animal, the Prophet ﷺ still wanted to hold to his original commitment. So that's a form of amana, a form of trust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? When you intend something as charity and then you get something back, give it away.